I'm really interested in talking to your audience because I have definitely walked down the path of meaningful work. Actually, walked down the path, not the right way to put it. I spent the first dozen or so years of my career in technology marketing, working for a medium-sized, about 1,000-person organization. Most recently, I was a director of marketing, but I progressed through the company through a number of different marketing and innovation roles. And it was a great company. I loved the people I worked with. I learned a ton, but I realized throughout that there was, a deeper, there was a gap when it came to my own sense of calling and purpose. I didn't love our customers. I didn't ultimately really resonate with the impact that we were making in the world, which was like sort of the enterprise software and technology world. And I read that Start With Why book that I'm sure many of your audience have read, from Simon Sinek. Just a fantastic concept. And I said, man, that's what I got to figure out. I got to figure out what my why is, and then everything will make sense. I'll know what to do. And I actually, quite obsessively did every single find your calling exercise I could get my hands on. Literally, I put my introspection hat on and really went to town. And I would review these exercises every couple of weeks with a friend of mine over a beer or two, and he sort of helped to hold up the mirror to me. And along the way, I did sort of realize and figure out what my why, what my calling is, and that is very much to help people in their own path to meaningful work. And these sad stats that we all hear about how many people are not engaged in their work, 70-80% of people not engaged in their work. That's just a crime. That is awful. That is awful. I mean, we spend more time at work than anywhere else. And we have so much to give. And I believe that everybody, wants to work hard and make a difference and care about what they're doing. And ultimately that's the challenge that I am super passionate about solving. And that's what we're looking to address with our companies, Fitzy and BeWork, which are really looking to address the barriers that exist for employers in finding the right match, the right people who are really going to love what they do and really resonate with the mission and the purpose of the companies they work for.
That's a wonderful story, and I think it's like you said, it is a crime that so many people are unhappy, and it's good to have the avenues with which to navigate towards purpose. So I think, as I said, this is why I wanted Edwin to come and listen today, because there are certain views about online platforms and job boards which I don't necessarily subscribe to. Some people say that you should do all your jobs or your job applications by going directly to hiring managers, but I think online platforms like Fitzy, like BeWork, have got their place in terms of helping you as part of a wider strategy. So really happy to have you here. Tell us a bit more about the platform, please, if you could, Edwin, and how it's helping people right now, how it's benefiting job seekers.
Well, I think there's two sides, obviously, to the equation in the matching challenge, right? And I think we very much have a matching problem. We have people, job seekers, that are not applying for the right kinds of jobs that are truly a fit for their whys, their hows, and their whats. And then we have employers that are not attracting the right people and or not selecting the right people from the shortlist. And so we've decided to focus on the employer side, because we believe if we can dramatically help employers make better selections, people that are a better fit, then that's going to benefit the job seekers. So with Fitzy, we're focused on the small and medium-sized businesses. So, businesses from like 25 to typically 250 or so employees. They employ many more people than large companies do. But today, they are at a huge hiring disadvantage. It actually costs them twice as much to hire as a big company does. And because they don't hire very often, they're not very sophisticated. They don't have teams of recruiters. They don't have fancy tools. They don't have big discounts on the job boards. They don't know how to navigate this new world. And so we're, with our free applicant tracking system, giving them basic tools that they can use to organize their hiring process. And then we layer on top of that, a la carte services, writing a great job ad, using an assessment, the FITSE assessment, to screen for fit, doing shortlisting and video interviewing, a number of different things that they can use depending on the different hires that they need to make. And this is all very affordable and accessible. So we're trying to dramatically improve their success rates. And then with BeWork, it's basically a version of the FITSE platform that we have customized for B Corps, for B corporations, certified B Corps. There's nearly 2,000 of them around the world. They are these mission-driven social enterprises that have certified that they are great places to work, that they're doing good things in the community, that they have products and services that are benefiting the world. These are like the best companies you can imagine to work for. They're all mission-driven. We ourselves are part of a B Corp. So we've customized a version of the FITSE platform to help those B Corps hire the very best people. And we have a vision for BeWork that eventually we will also turn it into a jobs board where job seekers can go find all the positions at these amazing companies and be automatically matched with the right and appropriate jobs for them. So we're really excited about that. It was only launched about 3 months ago, so we're still quite early, but there's a tremendous future for that.
No, it sounds great, and I think that's why I say, to people, don't just turn your back on applying to jobs online, because the whole idea is to find niche sites like BeWork, is to find sites that are tailored towards small to medium businesses. As Edwin said, they're the ones that are hiring frenetically, and they really are desperate for skills. They want skills of a variety of sorts, and the BeWork platform and FITSE allows you to actually connect directly with those people. So, this is something that you should really look at and really use as part of your strategy. And just to ask Edwin, in terms of, I suppose, in your eyes, I mean, I can see that things are changing, especially with things like BeWork. How are things, I suppose, evolving in this space, as far as you can see it, in terms of the online space, and with BeWork, how are things evolving for you?
You mean how are the sort of the job board industry and tools and those sorts of things evolving from the employer side?
Yeah, from the employer side, and I suppose what do job seekers need to really look out for in terms of those evolution?
Well, one major influence or impact that is happening at least here in North America. I'm not sure to what degree in the rest of the world, but Indeed, the job board Indeed is having a major impact here in North America, at least, and they offer free job board postings to anyone and everyone, and they're also out there scraping job board postings from those companies and sources that are not directly submitting to their job board. So they're trying to be the Google of job boards, and they seem to be succeeding. Right? They're becoming the one destination to find all jobs. Indeed believes that their client is the job seeker, and if they can help job seekers find all the jobs in one place, then they will make their money by advertisers wanting to be at the top of the listings, right? But they're really maniacally focused on serving the job seeker well. Part of that is making it really easy to apply for jobs. So Indeed has this easily apply, and you could sit there and apply for 100 jobs in a day because it's like a couple clicks away, and that's obviously great for job seekers. I think, though, that it has some negative consequences as well for job seekers and for employers. When you get a job on Indeed now, the amount of applicants that you get skyrockets, and many of these applicants had no business applying for this job, right? They're not really qualified for the role, and because there's so many applicants that are qualified for the role, the hiring manager or HR person, they don't necessarily even look at them all. Right, they get tired after looking at the first few, and so it's creating some issues where the really quality applications, the ones that are a great fit, might not get through, might never actually really be fully appraised. So that's one sort of factor that I think everyone should be aware of. The other factor is, and this is something that we're looking to specifically address with Fitzy, is that resume screening is literally impossible to do well.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Statistically speaking, they've done numerous studies. It's barely better, or it's barely more predictive than flipping a coin, right? There is not a high correlation between resume screening and ultimate success in the job. Yet resume screening is what 99.9% of companies rely on in order to get to that short list. So employers know this isn't working. Job seekers know that it doesn't work. Yet we continue to do it. Interesting little fact. It was actually Leonardo da Vinci that originally sent the very first resume. He was trying to get a job from like some count or prince or something like that, and he sent him a long letter of what he could do. So that's a major problem. It's not going to be a great resume or fixing your keywords or whatever in your resume that's going to land you your dream job. You've got to figure out a much better way to present your fit for a role than just applying using your resume.
And on that, I mean, because that leads me quite nicely, because in fact, there's just two things. Are there any tips, or have you seen any ways in which people are beginning to engage with people via Fitzy or via BWork that's really working for them in terms of job seekers engaging with the hiring advisors?
Yeah, so we've developed this Fitzy assessment to take the place of resume screening. So the assessment, once you get past the sort of minimum sort of knockout questions, the eligibility questions, the basics, there's three parts. First part is a qualifications assessment. So here's the things that we're looking for that we believe will drive success in the role, and how would you self-rate against those things. The second part is a personality test, where here's the personality traits of the high performers in this type of job, and how do you compare to those traits. And then the third part is sort of a high-level work environment. This is what the work environment is like here. What's your ideal work environment? And then those three things, are go into a Fitzy algorithm and produce a score. So the Fitzy assessment helps look at the total candidate, and essentially the employer can start with the people with the sort of the most predictive potential and look at those. They already sort of start with a short list. So that's how we're helping these small, medium-sized businesses to hire more effectively. But that doesn't necessarily answer your question, because there is, compared to all the jobs out there, there's just a tiny fraction of companies that are using the Fitzy assessment. So when you are faced with, I think, a job that looks like it's a great fit, and it's a typical application process, to me, the job seeker should put themselves in the hiring manager's shoes and think about. I always like to realize that hiring is an act of optimism, and it's very risky, right? Today, 50% of hires don't work out as expected. Mm-hmm. And for such a critical thing, that's a really crappy success rate.
Tell me about it.
Right?
It is.
And so imagine if you're a hiring manager and you've got so much on the line, you need to hire someone great for this job. You're going to want someone who looks as much like what you imagine the high performer would be doing and has done as possible. So think about that. Think about if I was a hiring manager, I would want someone who has basically done this job successfully before. That's their ideal. That's the least risky person. And that's the mindset that most hiring managers have. So think about that when you're applying and say, okay, here's those things that this person needs to have done before or can prove that they can do. And how am I going to show the hiring manager that I can do or have done these things, right? That's the game. That's the nut. I think that you need to crack.
And that's wonderful. And I think, as well as that, it's, I suppose, about getting your application right, as well as thinking, empathizing with the hiring manager. And have you seen, again, with Fitzy or with B-Work, any sort of big mistakes that people are making or big no-nos in terms of how they're trying to engage with the hiring manager or the hiring advisor?
Unfortunately, from where I stand, there's more no-nos than yeses happening. And I think millennials especially, I feel bad for them because they are coming in or are in a world of work which is very different, totally different, in fact, than the world of work that their parents were in, and the world of work where of the people who are giving them guidance and advice on how to get a great job. And so I often, do various speaking engagements, to young people on these topics. And it's sad because I feel like they actually have more things to unlearn. You got to undo the bad advice.
Oh, yeah.
And most of the advice that they get, I think actually hurts them more than it helps them. So, I don't even know where to start. But the top things I would say, number one, you have to look at yourself. And you need to be self-aware. You need to do some introspective activities. And I like to simply, put it in the category that Simon Sinek has. You need to understand the ballpark of your why. What's the difference that you love to make, right? What would your friends say that you help them with? What are the things that you're doing, not because you're getting paid, but because you like to make that kind of a difference? And you just need to understand the general ballpark of that, okay? Then you need to understand, well, what's my secret sauce? What are my hows? What is the type of work environment, the pace of the work, the kind of culture, the style? What are my personality traits? What are my values? What are all those conditions where when it's just like this, I'm doing my best work and I'm really engaged, I'm really creative, I'm very passionate. So understand how you do your best work. And there's lots of different personality tests and assessments and things like that you can do to understand that. And then the whats are like, okay, what are my skills? And you need to have skills. And that might be, especially for people starting out, the biggest barrier is like, you need to sharpen the saw and have a number of skills that can translate to what a hiring manager is looking for people to do. So you got to work on these skills, and you got to be able to produce great stories or projects or evidence that you have these skills and you can put them to use. So that's the first thing, is you got to look at yourself and itemize and understand your whys, your hows, your whats. That's very different than the advice many parents are giving, which is like, hey, this career looks good, law, you get paid a lot, and you have a history degree, and you're a good writer, and you can read long, boring things, so you should be a lawyer. Like, that doesn't make any sense these days. So, I think you start with yourself. Don't worry about what's a hot industry, what your cousin Larry thinks is a good job for you. All the rest of the external pressures you need to come from internally or intrinsically. And then from there, I would say don't just spend all your time on the job boards looking for whatever jobs are advertised, because more than half of the best jobs or jobs don't ever get advertised, right? They're only advertised when they don't already have someone great that they've been networking with to fill the role. And so I would start then and say, okay, who are the companies? What are the companies that are doing work in the ballpark of my why? And I just want to start following, researching, networking, meeting people in those companies. Like, create your bucket list of like, these would be amazing companies. And then within those companies, think about, well, how could I help them? If my only job was to make this company better, to make a difference at this company, to help them move forward in some meaningful way, what would I do? And then just go and pitch that. Approach those companies, figure out and say, and I think the slam dunk way to get in is say, hey, here's a taste. I'd like to do this little project for you. It's not going to cost you anything. Here's what I'd like to do. That never happens. And I'm telling you, any smart hiring manager who has someone who says, I love your company, I love what you guys are doing, I've read up on everything, I'm so into it, and here's how I could help you guys. And if I do this little project for you, all I ask is that you give me a shot, that you think about how I could either get a job at your company or how you could help me land a job in the space. People will take you up on that. And that's where great things happen. There's actually a really great free ebook on this concept called The Recession-Proof Graduate by Charlie Hoehn, Hoehn, I think.
The Recession-Proof Graduate, you said?
Yeah, and it's this idea, and this guy has used this successfully. You should see his career now, what he's done. It's amazing. It's the smartest and fastest way to getting your dream job that I could imagine.
And while you were talking there, Edwin, I was making a couple of notes, and I underlined here meeting those companies, because I think, again, what a lot of people tend to do, another big mistake that people tend to make, is when they're starting to apply for jobs online, they think that it's just an exercise of just shooting things online, and they don't think about actually, trying to meet people as well, in terms of those who, are sort of like them, or people who are potentially hiring in the future. So it's not just about shooting things off online, but it's also about meeting those people, getting to know them, to understand that there's some sort of correlation between them and yourself. So it's great advice.
I would just add one thing to that, is that the other foundational mistake that I see almost everyone making, and is that they are they're approaching their job search from here's what I could get. I could get a job. When the surest way to get a job is to approach it from a giving point of view, right? So if I post a job and I have 200 candidates, like, I don't give a crap about 200 people wanting a job. I have 200 people that want a job, that want this job. That's none of those people stand out because I only have one job, right? But if one of those people says, here, and looks at my situation, looks at what I'm trying to do with this job, looks what our company's trying to do, and comes with all these ideas or suggestions or ways to make my life easier, to help me, to help our company, that's the person who's getting the job, because they're already doing the job. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't even need to be a like, here, I'm going to do a week-long project or a free research project or write blog posts for you or whatever. It could be as simple as retweeting the person, the hiring manager, commenting on their blog post, doing some market research for them. Hey, you've launched this new product, and I went and interviewed these 5 customers, potential customers, and here's what they thought you might be interested in this. Like, put yourself in their shoes and say, how could I best help this person? Because that's what your job is going to be. So I would say, just imagine you're already working for that company, and what would you be doing? And just do that. Mm-hmm. And if you care, if this company is doing things that resonate with your why, even if that doesn't work out, it's great, fun, and fulfilling stuff to be doing. You're helping a company whose mission that you care about, mm-hmm. right? And I'm telling you, no, I give this advice all the time, and nobody does it. I think because you sort of have an irrational fear of like rejection, or that you're going to do stuff and it's not going to work out, when really the worst thing that could happen is you don't hear from them, mm-hmm. right? But I'm telling you, this works. Like a hiring manager who has someone that's clearly showing that they care about this and that is adding value immediately before you've even hired them, that's the people that you hire. That's the people you create jobs for.
Absolutely.
Right?
And again, I've just been marking a few words down as you've been speaking, and there's a recurring theme throughout all of the videos and throughout this whole summit. It's all been about don't just think about what you want, but what you can give, how you can help. The business should be all about trying to make things better, trying to make people's lives better, not worse. So those things that you said, Edwin, were care, give, help. So these should all be at the forefront of your mind when before you even begin to shoot off your resume, your CV, and your application. So
I've got 2 quotes for you. One from Zig Ziglar. It's something like, you can get anything in the world that you want as long as you help other people get what they want first. And another quote, I forget who said this, but they said, people don't care what you think until they think that you care. So it's really that simple. And there's a fantastic book on this from Adam Grant. It's called Give and Take. Mm-hmm. And this is scientifically, like, they've done a number of studies that prove that givers, people who are coming from an orientation of giving, they get what they want. They are more successful and end up getting much more of what they want than people who are takers, or people who are, I forget what he called it, like traders, people who only give if they're getting something in return. If you have that orientation as a job seeker, amazing things will happen. That's something I'm absolutely convinced of.